Hey my good friends, Sam Haymart for Test Driven TV. It's that time of the month again where I'm looking over your viewer comments and some of them really need answers, some of them need roasting. Either way, we're mowing them down. Alright my friends, let's get into this. This is unscripted, which means I've got my notes right here on the top 5 comments that really got my attention this month. And the first one comes on the 2017 Audi S3 test drive review, and that was a car I tested a little over a month ago. One of the things I really complained about in that review is the fact that the auto start stop system wasn't all that great. And so the first comment comes from Flip Mode 74, who says, start stop really isn't an issue. Just go off the brake at a yellow light and you can drive at the green. Or get off the brake when the car too before you begins to drive and you got lots of time to go. Just need to adjust your behavior. No, okay? This is a very expensive car. It's a high performance car. You shouldn't have to adjust your behavior because it doesn't work right. Look, some of the owners out there, and I get lots of comments like this, especially from owners of cars who don't agree with something I complain about their car. I mean, you guys are like beaten wives. Oh, my husband, he only beats me when he's drunk or when he's had a bad day at work. You learn to adjust your behavior. No, okay? You're a consumer. You're a consumer that's spending $50,000 for a luxury performance car. You shouldn't have to adjust your behavior because the thing is less than adequate, because it's not refined, because it doesn't work well. The thing here with this car is you've got the combination of both an auto start stop system, which itself doesn't work that well, and you've got a dual clutch automatic transmission, a robotic manual. So what happens is when that engine shuts off and then you let off the brake to actually move forward, two things have to happen. First, the engine has to start, which has a bit of a delay built right into it. The second thing is the dual clutch transmission has its own delays built in, and it has to then engage the clutch. So unlike an auto start stop system with a standard automatic transmission with a torque converter where once that engine starts up you can just roll right into the power, you've got two different systems here that have to work in concert, and it just doesn't work that well. So auto start stop, not that good to begin with. Combine it with a dual clutch transmission that in this particular case with Volkswagen, Audi, they're not that good either. So the two systems together, not a good marriage. Generally, don't like auto start systems to begin with. You should be able to turn those things off. This one defaults to on every time you start the car. So if it drives you bonkers, you have to remember to turn it off. And I'm sorry, you know, if you're spending $50,000 for a car, you shouldn't have to adjust your behavior. You know, look, it's my job to keep you guys from marrying a drunk husband, okay? Or a drunk wife. I'm straight friendly here. Anyway, so next comment is on or need to know EPA action on the Ram Jeep EcoDiesel. Now, I did a news piece some time back when the news broke that the EPA was chasing down FCA for not abiding by the laws when it comes to their EcoDiesel engines, and at first it really rang very similar to the TDI Dieselgate situation. And in that video I did explain the fact that this is quite a bit of a different situation. Well, the comment comes from Mike Todd, who says, all I can say is that FCA and the government had better work something out. I just bought an EcoDiesel and I want to keep it. I think we have a much better chance with Trump than we do with the Clintons. Now, there's a couple things here. First of all, just last month at the end of May, FCA did submit their cure for this with the EPA. So they worked with CARB, California Air Resources Board, and the EPA, and they have a new patch, essentially, a new software algorithm for their vehicles. They submitted for approval. Not done yet. That should be pretty soon. If it gets approved, they'll be rolling that out in the form of a recall, more than likely. Now, are they going to be having to go through all the buybacks and the situation Volkswagen did? Likely not, because again, much more of a different situation here, because this wasn't a situation where they outright lied. Volkswagen admitted to that. Chrysler, on the other hand, defending themselves vigorously. In fact, there has been a complaint filed by the Department of Justice against FCA on this, and just a week after they announced the fix had been submitted on this, they also said that they're going to be fighting that. Because in this particular case, the best of what I've been able to come to understand is that this was an issue related to keeping these engines from, you know, not lasting as long as they could. It was about warranty coverage. It was about modes that keep this engine operating in ways that protect the engine in certain situations. It was less about trying to circumvent testing, which was what the Volkswagen system was about. So this engine wasn't lying to the testing equipment, so to speak. It was just in certain modes out there driving, occasionally it would go into a mode that had not been previously disclosed to the EPA, which itself is breaking the law. But again, this is a situation a little bit different from the Volkswagen. I expect pretty soon we're going to be hearing about a fix for this, and it'll get rolled out in short order. Now, the other thing is, we've got a Trump EPA now instead of an Obama EPA. The commenter here said Clinton's, but Obama Clinton would have been the same thing. That really is irrelevant. The Department of Justice is still going after Chrysler here, regardless of that, under the Trump administration, and they didn't just shut this down when Trump got elected. So it's still going forward. They're still going through the motions. They still have to fix this. So anyway, on to the next thing. 2017 Mazda MX-5 RF test drive. I sat in the interior of this car and I kind of went off because this MX-5 and the RF has a lot of issues with the interior. One of them has to do with the 12-volt power outlet. Comment here comes from Elliot Manning. Elliot watches our videos a lot. Thank you very much, Elliot. His comment is, the 12-volt placement is completely unacceptable. I don't know how he knew it was there. Elliot, I knew it was there because I had to look for it in the owner's manual, and the owner's manual wasn't very much help at all either, because, okay, I want to find this thing. I'm trying to find it in the appendix. 12-volt outlet, not listed. Power port, not listed. I'm going through the list of all the things I can think of that this thing would be named. Can't find it in the owner's manual. You think it'd be front and center on the user guide and all of that. As it turned out, they called it an accessory port. Okay, so I finally find it. There's a little diagram showing it in a dotted line, and it sort of points at the dash in this bizarre place. It doesn't really explain it. It just points to a dotted little outline on the face of the dash. It doesn't explain that it's, anyway. It was very difficult to find, as difficult as it is to use. This thing is hidden up under the dash, up above the carpet and the footwell, like up where the heater core would be. The most bizarre thing I've ever seen in any modern day car. Even my '67 Mustang I grew up with, it was a cigarette lighter. It was right there on the front of the dash. Every other car I've ever known on this planet not only has one, but it's front and center, because in some countries they use it for a cigarette lighter. So, I guess if you're over in Asia or Europe and it's still okay to have a cigarette lighter, I guess you don't get to smoke in this car unless you want to get under your dash when you're on the side of the road, because you cannot reach this thing from the driver's seat very easily. You literally have to get on the side of the car and lay on the ground and reach up under, you have to crawl up under the dash to even use this 12-volt port. Completely unacceptable. Completely. I agree with you, Elliot, and I just can't imagine why they did that. The only thing I can think of is they forgot it until the last minute, and it was too late to fix it. And even so, there's no reason they couldn't have fixed that better than what they did. So bad Mazda. But that's just one of the things on the interior. Anyway, I better not go on about that. I did enough in the video. 2017 Volvo S90 T6 all-wheel drive. Now on this test drive, one very astute viewer, Nosgoth Demon, says after 6 months, the interior will look disgusting. What he's referencing there is the very light color on this leather, and you can see it in the video. In fact, I didn't really get onto it as a topic of discussion, but the seats on this, very light color, and combine that light color with the actual texture of the leather both on the steering wheel and on those seats, it was already starting to look dirty. And the press car I had was only a few months old, only had a few thousand miles on it. But I had noticed that the leather was already starting to show signs of wear and tear and dirtiness. And I actually tried to scrub some of that off, and it didn't come off because it wasn't necessarily dirt that was surface. It was ground into the leather. And so you're right. That is going to look pretty bad over time. That's not going to age well. But I typically don't get into that so much in my test drive reviews, because obviously if you get a dark color or black, not going to be an issue, but and I don't really know what this car is truly going to be like 6 months or a year down the road, but that was my impression too, looking at that light color with already showing wear marks and dirt that was already sort of ground in there, that no, that might not be the best color if you don't wear white satin every day. Also on the Volvo T6 test drive, I got a lot of comments on my appearance because I recently changed my look up a little bit, and I do that quite a bit. If you've watched my videos over the years, I've done everything from a cowboy look to skinhead to whatever. Life's short, so I changed the look up quite a bit, and a lot of people commented on this, and actually there's 3 comments here that really caught my eye. First comment, keep up the good vids, you reformed prisoner. Another one was, Sam has gone into the witness protection program. And another, was wondering what Chuck Liddell was doing now these days. Keep up the good reviews, champ. Well, thanks guys. Now I did get a few comments. People didn't like it, but at the end of the day, this is a medium where people are going to say whatever's on their mind, and you learn to get a thick skin. So I always like the good comments, and some people said, well, one person said, Chuck Liddell hasn't aged so gracefully. You know, stuff like that always happens, but I'll take Chuck Liddell anytime. He's not a bad looking guy. I've also been compared to Walter White, kind of haggard looking, and Jason Kidd, also the basketball player. And so I'll take any of those. I don't mind being compared to other people. I really enjoy what I do, and I always appreciate the comments, whether it's about myself, but usually it's about the product, about the cars. I always like to try to answer them and engage with you guys. And I really appreciate you guys watching, because this is how I make a living. So in that way, subscribe to my YouTube channel right there, because that's how I make a living. Also, see my latest test drive right there. Either way, stay tuned.